Hello everybody, welcome to another Q&A video. This is where I take the time to answer your questions from YouTube comments from the previous Q&A video, as well as Patreon and YouTube memberships. This is kind of like just a fun, long-winded video to talk about stuff I wouldn't talk about in normal videos, and for you guys to get to know me. I'm more than just the, and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy guy. You know? So like my usual spiel, like I always say, for the next Q&A video, drop whatever questions you have for me, anything you want me to tackle down in these comments. Let me know. But let's jump into our first question. This one is from Chance Weaver. This actually isn't really a question. This is from the last Q&A video when we were talking about Batman and Gotham Knights and stuff. Chance says, honestly, I'd love to see one more game, kind of like Gotham Knights, but just a game about the Bat family with Batman, with the Middle-earth Nemesis system applied to all the criminals and allies of Batman. I think that's a cool idea. I think the Nemesis in every game is like a thing. I would love to see that, but I also just, why did I immediately just think of like street level criminals with Batman? Like you break a thug's arm and then he comes back and he's like, hey, Batman, and his arm is in a sling and he's got like a +5 like damage buff and he's like, I'm taking you down this time. If you play the Middle-earth Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor games, you get what I'm talking about, but I just thought that was funny, but also cool. A lot of you guys had questions about Pokemon, so Charlie asks, hey, what are your thoughts on the rocky launch for the new Pokemon games? What with the performance issues and all that? I think Arceus had some issues as well, but I think those got patched at the end. Think that will be the case as well. And also, the Witch King asks, with the new Pokemon game allowing you to use 2 controllers to run faster, it's a glitch. What was your funniest, unfunniest game glitch so far? So one thing I will confess is that I haven't played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I actually pretty burnt out on Pokemon, I hate to say it. I did Arceus, I played through that, I did the Before You Buy for that. I'm good for like one Pokemon game a year, man. I can't take on more than that. So Falcon and Eric at GameRanks took that over for me. I know I had talked in the past about kind of retiring from Before You Buy. I'm definitely not, but I am willing to not shoulder all the games myself, at least sometimes. And for Pokemon, definitely, it definitely seems rough. I mean, I got to see the gameplay footage that we cut here behind the scenes, and woo! I think my problem is just how I feel about a lot of yearly things. It's pretty obvious. Slow down, like literally just relax. I think quantity over quality is most of the time not good, especially in instances like this where these games are still a creative medium. They are still being handcrafted. It is way better to prioritize quality. I think not just in terms of like it'll be better and like, yeah, like the nerds will be happier, but also if you take the time and really make a banger product that really blows the doors down and it takes a year or so to build that in terms of extra time, wouldn't that be like more of a slam dunk and more of a return on investment? I don't know. I don't make games, but that's kind of what I would like to see. And for Pokemon, it's a bummer because now I see with this one, people are really finally fed up. I've seen some people even go as far as to call like the Pokemon developers untalented here. I think they're just kind of caught in this endless loop cycle. And I think that when it's like a yearly thing, that doesn't leave a lot of time for like real innovation, real build. There are other games, there are yearly Assassin's Creed games, yearly Call of Duty games that you can argue that there are things within each of them that are meaningful improvements or adjustments or just fresh things. But I still think with more time, it could be much better. And I think with Pokemon Company, they're still just struggling to get a really solid, good-looking thing down first and foremost, let alone new gameplay mechanics or gimmicks or anything like that. So I think the thing that offends me the most is what I said about Sonic Forces, where like, you know, it's such a big property. It's a $1 bajillion thing. It's a beloved franchise. So put the time into it. Put the budget into it. It shouldn't be a hot mess out of the gate. It deserves more love, more care. And I've said that about a lot of things, from like the Grand Theft Auto trilogy thing to Sonic Forces and now this Pokemon. Like, give these big, massive things the love that they deserve, but also the love that you have the cash to pay for. Nerdcentric also asks, the graphics have been criticized for Pokemon, and there are claims that the Switch needs to upgrade to better graphics. My thoughts on that aren't as harsh as some people's, but like, yeah, I think that the Switch is starting to show its age a little bit. I will say that there are still plenty of good-looking games that have squeaked down into that thing. You're starting to see the aching points, but I think when a game is really given the time and the optimization, you can still get good stuff out of it. And Nintendo has always kind of kept, not all the time, but more often than not in history, they have kept cutting edge graphics technology, like a little bit lower on the totem pole. But I don't know. The one thing I gotta say about Nintendo, what I like about them is that they are kind of unpredictable with certain things. I thought the Switch was a big surprise, and then even some of the things that they've been doing with the Switch have been things that I wouldn't have been able to totally call. So I have no idea what they're gonna do. We could be still playing on the Switch for years. They're crazy. They could do anything. Cooper Rowe says, oh man, losing Kevin Conroy was such a loss. He brought so much to Bruce Wayne, Batman, both in television and gaming. Do you have a favorite episode or moment from the Batman animated series? I do want to share a clip of what I said on the Friday show about Kevin Conroy. Like, we were recording the Friday show like right when it happened, and it really bummed me out, you know? So I'll run that. It's relevant to bring up that Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, who many of you gamers might know, the voice of Batman in the Arkham games, has passed away at the age of 66. This was sudden and unexpected, and for me, as somebody who has always just enjoyed the comfort of what he has brought as a kid who grew up in front of a TV and with some comic books, that was my Batman. It's arguably a lot of people's Batmans, and he's going to leave behind pretty big footsteps, or footprints rather. I usually don't get affected by celebrity deaths or anything like that, but it was what he put out there in the world. It's something that, like, you feel like you're always going to have, and then this news, you feel like suddenly it's taken away from you and you're never going to get any more of it. And I think the big takeaway from that is feel like that about yourself too, man. I mean, whatever you put out in the world, big or small, whether it's voice acting for a famous character or just a handshake and a smile, know that at some point someone else out there is going to feel like they suddenly don't have that either when talking about you. It might not feel like it, but it is the case. Just kind of wanted to share that, kind of want to repeat that. But Kevin Conroy, Batman, like, you know, the Mask of the Phantasm, just all of that is the obvious answer. But the first episode of the first season of the Batman animated series, On Leather Wings, there's a scene where Kevin Conroy like does a switch flip between Batman and Bruce Wayne, and it really like plays with that duality thing that, like, you know, Batman is the real person, Bruce Wayne is the mask type thing. They flex that right in the first episode because there's a whole story about the casting process and how they came across Kevin Conroy. And you could tell that they were excited about that and they wanted to flex it in those early episodes because the Bruce Wayne voice and the Batman voice, excellent disconnect, where also the subtlety enough for his Batman voice to not just be like, you know, like his Batman still sounded like a real compassionate thinking person, not just monster man. And then his Bruce Wayne was like a clear jump to a lighter version of that. I like the subtleties of Kevin Conroy because then like he would even go on to do the Arkham games, like towards the end, especially like Arkham Knight, his Batman in that, and it's a different universe, but his Batman there was much more aggressive and I'll break every bone in your body. Like, it's cool. I like that there's a lot of different little bits there, but I still think of that first episode, that example. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. It's really cool. Hey, now, before we keep going, just want to let you know, today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. By now, you probably know that having a VPN is the best thing for online security, right? You know, avoid DDoS attacks, dodge malware from malicious websites. And with NordVPN specifically, all of your data is protected behind a wall of next-generation encryption. But then there's also the fun part of using a VPN too, arguably one of the best parts. Use it to change your virtual location by connecting to over 5,200 servers in 59 countries. So if maybe you're looking for a game that's not available in your region, or if you're looking for a game that's maybe available cheaper somewhere else, or access different movies or shows on your streaming service through a different country's version. There's a lot you can do with VPNs. They're not just for hardcore computer nerds anymore. There's so much potential to unlock. It's easy. It's a quick setup, basically one click, and then you can get it set up on your phone or your computer. I have it right here on my phone. Boom, I have it everywhere on all my devices. It's easy. And I mean, it's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, so you might as well check it out. If you want the hookup, you can go to nordvpn.com/onjake for a 2-year plan with a huge discount plus 4 additional months free. Check it out. It's nordvpn.com/onjake. And thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Oh boy, here we go. Danny V says, I feel like you and me are the few still waiting on some kind of sequel for Freedom Fighters. If they were to create one, what new features would you like to see to compete with today's market while still keeping that original Commanding Soldiers gameplay? All right, here you go. You guys want me to talk about Freedom Fighters some more? Are you sick of me yet? I like Danny's question because it sounds like he's being a little realistic, where it's like, how can you make a Freedom Fighters now that would actually be competitive out there in the world of gaming, but still kind of be its thing? And I hate to think of like the original Division, that cool, just like patrolman, you're walking around New York City, you're looking for quests and stuff. But like, what if that was single player, or at the very least, just a cooperative experience? I wouldn't mind, at least in terms of to make it modern, a new Freedom Fighters to be a cooperative experience where it's like you're two leaders leading a small troop. I think that isn't totally out of left field because the original game did have a kind of fun multiplayer mode. But I wonder how control mechanics would get. I think we'd have to go more into like management stuff, which I would like, because now at this point, like it's pretty straightforward. You would have a crew of people. AI is fine now, so you could point them to go do things and fight things. But I think my favorite parts of Freedom Fighters was coming back to the sewers, coming back to the base, and seeing that base built up, right? Like slowly more and more, you'd see more people, more crates of weapons, you'd see more tents as you get more survivors, more Freedom Fighters to join your cause, right? So I feel like there's a good way to, I don't want to say like give it RPG elements, but just give it a little bit more depth in terms of like the world changing and growing around you as you progress, but also maybe you having to manage a little bit with your troops in terms of how you train them, maybe how you customize them, maybe make them better at explosives or better at long range weaponry or like something like that. But the one thing I just really want to see them keep is the progression, right? Especially for you, the player character, the progression from just like guy thrust into this or woman thrust into this to becoming top tier badass leader freedom fighter. Like that sense of progression is really, really cool. And I would love to see them tackle that in a modern way. I don't know how. Would it be you create your own character, or would it be a written character? I still think there's room to write a cool character there, but yeah, that's where I'm at, I think. Also, hate to say it, don't really hate to say it, but it would have to open up a little bit, not separated by loading screens, by areas. It would have to just kind of be a bigger, more cohesive New York City if they decide to keep it, if they ever did it again, if they did New York City again. I think they should. I'm biased, but yeah. Matty the Gooner, oh boy, he's making me break my don't talk about Star Wars rule, but let's go. Do you think Andor is a great example of why many companies in games, movies don't take huge risks or diversions from what is tried and tested, and why a lot of AAA has the same vibe or feeling around it? Andor is the first real different show to come from Star Wars and is just getting nowhere near the coverage it should be for how good it is. I think it's just something you see sometimes, and it can be frustrating, but it's like Andor and or like a video game equivalent that falls in this category really is like a half risk, because the risk is still the fact that they made it. They built those sets, they spent that money, they hired all these people to make this million bajillion dollar thing, right? But then they didn't follow through with like blasting it out there and crazy marketing and doing all this big deal stuff, right? So it's like almost like a half committal, a half step. And I think those still need to happen. And I think that companies do put money into projects like that, because it is kind of like a cyclical thing. Like it's almost like a gamble. Like, oh, okay. Well, like, oh, wow. They might be like, oh, the people really like Andor. Okay, now let's do another one of those types of things and go bigger and harder. And let's like pivot here. There are plenty of things in games and movies like that they put out that like you could classify as like they just did that as like a write-off, or it was a smaller project, but there had to have been some passion somewhere for it to kick off. And I think the companies look at it as like, here, it's cool. We could say we made it, but if it's a big hit, then now we can go in that direction. This is my super awesome Patreon asks, hey, how do you feel the Friends Per Second podcast is going? You seem to be pulling in some really big names in the game industry. Thank you for asking. Any opportunity to plug our new podcast that I do with Skill Up, Lucy James, and The Completionist. It's a lot of fun. It's different. It's very cool because they're all smart and accomplished. So I kind of like, I feel a little challenged. Like I feel like I gotta like keep up with the big boys here, but also they're just great people. And it's nice to have a project like this. I definitely didn't realize we would be doing so many big top tier interview or special guest type things from the outset. But like, I'm surprised with what we're getting. We have somebody who is now pretty much officially booked for the show. That is pretty wild. And I was like, holy shit. I can't believe that person is coming on. And it seems like that keeps happening. So I'm looking forward to that. In terms of me for like a dream guest I would want on, You know the answer. You definitely know the answer to that. UBVY, if I'm saying that right, asks, have you played and enjoyed any card game sims like Hearthstone, LOR? I should know what that is. Legends of Runeterra. Is that right? Yu-Gi-Oh! And the like. If so, did you play physical card games as well? Mostly geared at Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, I definitely had a shit ton of Pokemon cards back in the day, and my embarrassing little kid ass would, like, if I would go for a walk in the neighborhood or like walk my dog or something, I would keep my whole stack of cards on me just in case someone came out and wanted to battle. Like, I thought it would be like the games or like the trainers would come out and be like, let's fight. And I'd be like, okay, I have my Pokemon card. It's so embarrassing. You know, when you're a kid and your brain is just completely not good. Or better, or wholesome. I don't know. But yeah, in terms of card games, I was big on Hearthstone for a minute. A lot of you guys probably won't believe me when I say that. But yeah, I played a fair bit amount of Hearthstone. I wasn't like one of those crazy people, but I casually played it a lot. I definitely ignored a lot of classes and stuff by just playing it on my iPad in the back. I had like the earlier iPad where it was like really shitty on iPad, but hey, you do what you do, man. And then more recently, I'm probably going to talk about it more maybe in my end of the year videos, Marvel Snap. I went into it like hating it, not wanting anything to do with it. And it's pretty fun. It's very cool. I'm pretty hooked on it. I don't find the monetization predatory or anything like that. Like, it's a mobile game, but I haven't really felt like it's like a bad thing to play. Ethically, maybe, I don't know, but that's where I'm still like formulating thoughts on that. Also, the music is awesome. Ren Momo says, hey, I don't know if this is really a question, but I have trouble making friends around my age. I'm early 20s, because it seems that everyone from like 19 to 24 are all super into Call of Duty and the AAA space and don't really want to move out of it, when I'm over here playing Deep Rock Galactic and having to play with people nearly a decade older than I am. Kind of sucks, and I haven't found a way to get around it. My only advice, and like, I don't know if like you asked for my advice, but I'm going for it, is that like, yeah, I'm with you. It is very hard to make friends. It's hard in your 20s. I can confirm now it's hard in your early 30s. I will say, for like gamers and stuff, Discord is good. Discord has a lot of communities. I would say look into if like there's another YouTuber you watch or like something you're into, see if they have a Discord community, and might actually be able to find some like-minded folks there that some may be around your age group. I've seen it happen. Like, I've literally seen it happen in Discords that I've run or been involved in. Folks find each other, and it's nice. It's not like you're gonna suddenly be showered with a bunch of friends, but you might find one or two really, really cool people. I very much think, like, be safe, find your corner of the internet, your own community. Hopefully it's not like a fucking hate community or something like that, but there are people out there, and sometimes people are just looking for other people to play games. There's those LFG channels in Discord where you might just find someone to play with, or you might find a long-term connection. It happens. I mean, even in high school, one of my closest friends now is someone that I met really, or like befriended more on Xbox Live. I like vaguely knew him at school, but I was like weird, and he was like the jock. Like, he was like the high school quarterback football captain guy. And we really hit it off playing things like, I don't know, what were we playing? Halo 3, Rainbow Six Vegas, like stuff like that. And now he's one of my closest friends, and I'm grateful for that. So I hope you find something like that. That's obviously like a perfect example, but if you can even get a fraction of that, just a small connection, give it a shot, jump in some Discords and see what happens. Johnny Boy says, hey, you got one movie from your childhood that you were way too young to see and it stuck with you? I still remember the opening scene to Razorback. Gave me nightmares for years. For me, I remember being really young and like sick and like laying in front of the TV and waking up in like a fevered stupor and seeing the end of like the original Swamp Thing movie, and he just looked really scary because I was young. He looked scary, but also like deeply grotesque in a way that chilled me to the bone. I looked it up now, and it's like corny bullshit. But as a kid, I don't know why, but it stuck with me. Like the imagery. Maybe it was because I was in a half like feverish state, but something about that. Another thing, and I've talked about this before, Terminator 2. Terminator 2, I definitely saw way, 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 way too young, but it's probably partially responsible for like what I'm into today, which is robots and guns and cool guys and sunglasses. Also, another one I can think of is The Fly, and The Fly sequel, which is really underrated. There's the Jeff Goldblum one, and then there's the second one that gets even more fucked up. Those I still think about today, and I get the shivers. I shouldn't have seen that. Lewis Craig says, so that recent poll from Embracer Group on Legacy of Kain, that's exciting. Yes, I definitely agree. I did talk about Legacy of Kain Blood Omen in my previous video, but I think the possibilities are pretty exciting. I think it's like, hello, you're a big company, Embracer. You have the rights to something that you can build out and make a really cool universe that isn't really a total gamble because it has been proven to be loved before. There is something to it. Granted, the people that played the original now, like we're like a dying breed. We are like, you know. But still, we're out there, and there were significant numbers at some point, so there is potential there, and I hope they go for it. KB Joe Tographs, if I'm saying that right, says, I'd love to hear your thoughts on where Max Payne 4 could go, and he's new to this channel, or they're new to this channel. Thank you for being here. Oh boy, where Max Payne 4 could go. So I've gone on record that I'm not really into how Max Payne 3 ends. As much as I think that's like an incredible game, I don't really like Max on a beach drinking a beer. Like it just doesn't, it didn't really fit right with me. So where Max Payne 4 could go, the only place it could go would be him being like, oh, just when I thought I was out, I'm back in, like that type of thing. But here's my crazy idea. Here's a bad idea or a great idea. I don't know. Some movies do this. Most recently, Halloween 2018 did this, where they were like, hey, the original classic beloved Halloween movie, that counts, and that's it. None of the shit after it. This is a follow-up to the original thing. What if they did that for Max Payne? I would love to see, Max Payne 2, so to speak, that goes in a different direction, tries a different thing. There's even a little bit of a time jump between Max Payne 1 and 2. I'd almost love to see like the direct, weird aftermath of Max Payne 1. Not gonna lie, I'm also saying that as somebody who, like, my favorite part of Max Payne 3 was like the flashback scenes. So that's, I don't know, that's me. But that's Max Payne. That's a Q&A. Of course I would talk about Max Payne and freedom fighters. Thank you guys for coming around and listening to me yap about stuff. Hopefully you just had fun watching this or kicking back with this like a podcast or something. You know what I do here. I just talk about stuff I love. So if you stuck around with me, I very much appreciate that for real. So hit me with questions for the next one down in those comments. And big shout out to the people on Patreon and YouTube memberships who have my back. Love you very much. But clicking a like button helps. Thank you to any of you who clicked on the sponsors for these videos. It definitely helps me out. But I'm Jake Baldino. I'll see you guys next time. Pizza's on me. Subscribe because video games.